something that we were told about you, which is crazy, is around your near-death experience, and that really changed things for you, right?
Yeah, I clinically died just over 2 years ago. And what happened was, when I was born, my stomach was twisted in a knot, and the scar tissue from the surgery, I was supposed to die when I was born, and the scar tissue from the surgery broke off all these years later, created a bowel obstruction. I didn't know that at the time. I just knew my stomach was hurting. So I called my buddy and said, "Hey, throwing a dinner party tonight, and I want to be able to do that, but I'm in pain." He said, "You should go to the hospital. Your appendix might be bursting." So went to the hospital. They did all these tests. They couldn't figure out what was going on. Our COO at the time, Helen, came because we were supposed to be meeting. My parents came. And, after a whole day of experiments, they said, "Look, we can't figure out what this is. So we're going to send you guys home. We're going to keep Matt overnight. And if he's not doing better in the morning, then we'll do surgery then." So Helen drove home to her house, and it was probably 11 o'clock at this point. She pulls into her driveway, and something is telling her not to get out of the car, not to go inside, to go back to the hospital. And Helen is, COO. She's very serious. She's British. She's not like a Venice Beach, listen to the cosmos type person. So it was very out of character for her, but the voice was undeniable. So she drove back. And if she hadn't driven back, I would have died 45 minutes later, because my blood pressure had plummeted and the machines had not alerted the nurse. And so Helen came in and she knew her way around. She'd been in the hospital with her grandmother, so she kind of knew what was what. And she went and got the doctor and said, "This looks really bad. This can't be right." And the doctor came in and took one look and saw that I was no longer getting oxygen to my brain. And so she called in a crash team, rushed me down to surgery. I came out of surgery and they said to my mom, "The good news is we figured out what it is. It's bowel obstruction. Bad news is he's in critical condition. His heart rate is continuing to plummet and we don't know why." And so then a couple hours pass. My mom goes downstairs to get my dad and my brother, and she hears over the loudspeaker, "Code blue in room 437. And my mom works in a hospital, so she knows that means flatline, and she knows that's my room. So she rushes to the door, and the nurse says, "I'm sorry, you can't come in. This is really serious." And she said, "Look, I was there when he came in this world. If he's leaving this world right now, I'm going to be in that room." And so she let her in the room, and I was flatline. They were doing the compressions, the CPR, and also the electric shock paddles. My body was bouncing up and down, but I wasn't responding. I was out. I was flatlined. And so my mom started to crumble. It's one thing to lose a child. It's another thing to be there 3 feet away when it's happening. And at the same time, my dad was outside with my brother, and this doctor came out and said to another doctor in front of my brother, not knowing it was my brother, "Hey, we lost this guy. He's gone." And so my brother pushes my dad in the room saying, "You need to be there with mom." And my dad was crying so loudly when he came in that my mom kind of turned away from me to him to say, like, "Gary, you got to be quiet or they're going to kick us out of this room." And when she did that, she said she saw something she'd never seen before in a hospital. She said every nurse and every staff member and every doctor in the ICU had just gravitated outside the window. And there was 40 of them. And they looked like this silent church choir just sending in this positive energy. And she was so moved by these people that were sending in love to this person that they didn't even know. It was like this transformational experience for her. It filled her up with strength. And she turned back and she started coaching me. She said, "Matthew David Pohlson, these people are fighting to save your life. They're fighting so hard, but you're not fighting hard enough. You need to fight harder. You need to show them you're a fighter. These people are fighting to save your life." And they said it was really a surreal experience because here's this 65-year-old mom in this room. Like, no one's ever supposed to be in these rooms outside of the doctors. And because, and the flatline went on for 4.5 minutes, which is a really long time. They don't usually keep fighting. You lose oxygen to your brain after 20 seconds. But because she kept fighting, they kept fighting. But at one point, she explained it started to, go through her head, I can't believe I'm going to lose him. And if I lose him, I'm probably going to lose my husband. And how is this happening? Her mind went there. And then right as she was doing that, the main doctor shook his head as if to say, this is done. And so he kind of pulled away and she said, no, please, don't call it. And right as she said that, he turned back and he looked down and he said, wait a second, I think we have a pulse. And then kind of as he said that, the whole room kind of went silent and just kind of eyes open. And then all of a sudden I just popped up and then looked up and I saw this whole room just staring at me. And I didn't know where I was. And then I saw my mom and then I saw my dad and I was on my side and I just kind of slowly lifted my right arm and gave a thumbs up.
Hey Foundr fam, did you love this interview? Well, if you did, then make sure to subscribe. We're dropping new interviews every single week and we can't wait for you to join the journey. All right, we'll see you soon.